Hello and welcome to another Abyss and Imaginarium Theater review. This time we're taking a look at version 6.2 Luna 3 or the December 2025 Abyss and Imaginarium Theater. It's the end of 2025. We're gonna be switching to 2026. Where did the time freaking go? So, let's be done with this so that we can continue on with our holiday, shall we? People? So, let's begin with the Abyss. This time, the Abyss was interesting since we don't have any lunar characters in the banners. We just have Durin, Venti, Varessa, and Zilonen. We should have had some Natlan, Night Soul, Blessing, Shilling, but actually we didn't, which helps a lot with many teams clearing this Abyss. But yeah, no lunar stuff to shill lunar reactions and shit and make our life way worse. So, let's begin then with floor 11. Let's dive into the details. 11-1 is a monolith defense, of course, with the first half containing 65 Hydro and Cryo Slimes for the Venti Durin combo. I mean, it's just 65 Hydro and Cryo Slimes. They do fuck all, and any sort of Anemo CC or AoE is going to destroy them, as long as it's not a Cryo or Hydro DPS. It's the time for Venti mains to have a ton of fun, and well, can you blame them exactly? The second half is just 10 Nobushis in waves of 2, and that's about it. They basically never touch the monolith. So yeah, classic Venti monolith defense. Just use some Anemo CC or again AoE. The number seems high, but it's nothing like that. You also not timed. It's monolith defense, so it's just about the monolith's health. So even if you take some time on the slimes, it's not gonna matter. 11-2 is once again crazy numbers time with 30 Cryo and Hydro Spectres. Hell, I freaking forgot that these enemies even existed, not gonna lie. But yes, 30 Cryo and Hydro Spectres, it's the exact same thing with the Hydro and Cryo Slimes. While the second half is just 2 avatars of lava. I think it's the eroding ones, which need like Pyro to like do them special stuff, but like it doesn't really matter. It's just some avatars of lava, one at a time. It's super easy. And then 11-3, first half, is kind of super weird. It almost felt like I was playing 1.x to like 2.x Genshin, because it starts with 2 Cryo Sisen Mages, followed by 2 of the Cryo Fatuis, and then finishing off with a Mirror Maiden, which is like, wow, what a combo. Because it literally feels like we're trying to like shield Diluc or Huta or somebody with this, with like the super 1.x Cryo enemies, like wow. And then just a Mirror Maiden on top. It's not really a ventiable chamber, I would say, but you know, it's the Venti Durin combo for the Pyro application, but you know, that's how it goes. And then the second half finishes floor 11 with the Terror's Room, the Jade Plume Terror's Room, and that's it. Kind of weird how, you know, when you hit this thing with Electro, it runs around like a motherfucker. So like with Varessa, it's kind of like, like, I don't know why they do Electro Shilling with the Terror's Room. It's not really amazing. I mean, nor is the Pyro, like, if you hit it with Pyro, but, like, again, I don't understand why they do Electro Shilling on the Terror's Room. Overall, again, it's a clear Venti Durin and Varessa floor, but it's nothing that other teams won't clear, and the first halves are very fun. Come on. We love deleting 60 freaking enemies with a Venti or a Kaza or anybody. Floor 12, then, the buffs, since we always cover those first. The buffs are Pyro damage bonus for off-field characters, which only benefits Durin and Xianling, actually. But yeah, like nobody else. Like even Mavuika support doesn't really care about the 75% damage bonus off-field. Like, thanks. But like, there's nobody else. Who? Toma! Who else exactly is going to use the Pyro off-field damage? Like, even, like, Anemo characters, like, infusing abilities, it's not really. It's Durin, and Xianling, I guess, is the one that, of course, benefits from this. And then the second halves have plunging attack damage for Varessa, and then, of course, Xiao and Gaming can use the plunging attack damage, and anybody else if you're doing some weird Xianyun based, like, teams. Then, for the chambers. 12-1 starts with another Venti Durin chamber with 40 enemies, starting with the Fontaine Dogs in waves of 5, followed by Cryo-Sisson Mages in waves of 3, and then just one Fontaine Mecha for some reason. The number does sound insane in floor 12, but any sort of AoE or an MOCC, plus some Pyro for the Cryo-Sisson Mages, will destroy this chamber. You can also try Child and destroy your FPS if you want. I definitely did because it felt amazing. I love my boy. Of course, he's one of my favorite characters, and it didn't destroy my FPS. My PC is pretty good, but anything else, I bet you, holy shit, the numbers will destroy your FPS. The second half is 2 of the plunge attack weasels from Natlan. You have 2 options for these. One is the intended way, which is plunge attacks, either natural plunge attacks through the characters I mentioned in the buffs, or unnatural through some weird tech, or an albedo flower, which was actually the first thing I thought about. I was like, I guess I'll play like Huta or somebody and just use albedo's flower, right? And it worked perfectly well. And the second way is brute forcing damage through their shield. I used my Flints, and in one of his rotations, the shield was broken. But that is a lot of damage needed to break that. We're talking about a Flints doing like 200, 300k on the first mini burst, and then like 500k on the second mini burst hit. So like it's a lot of damage, and that's also without Inefa. But yeah, but the weasels will dig out after a while, so you can also test out teams that way. Or if you need teams for the other chambers, you've done chamber 1, and you need teams for the other chambers, then you can know that you aren't completely blocked from trying them, nor do they take a fuck ton of time to dig out. You just need to survive the attack that they do. So yeah, like if you need teams for the other chambers, and they're not plunge attack damage, you know that in around like 30 seconds, the weasel will dig out, and you can defeat them that way. So there's that. I mean, if you have the DPS, like not enough DPS to break the shield, but perhaps enough DPS to kill them after they dig out, then of course you can do that. But, it depends on your teams. 12-2 is again more number heavy, but much, much less than 12-1. It starts with 3 of the Nufatui soldiers, followed by 2 Kairagis, and then one by one is a Ruin Guard and a Flying Ruin Drake, which doesn't necessarily need a bow. It flies low enough compared to, the boss, the Aeonblight Drake. It flies low enough to hit it with something that isn't a bow. The enemies are simple enough that there aren't any specific tips to give here. The same teams that clear 12-1 will easily clear 12-2. As for the second half, it's 2 Hydro Eidolons, one at a time. I don't really get why they chose these 2, since Hydro doesn't really do anything for Vares as far as I know. Fucking Gaming gets more from them for free Vaporize. So yeah, it's 2 Hydro Eidolons. Just make use of their Hydro Aura and go nuts. 12-3 is the interesting one, because I don't like this new boss, which is Durin's Materials boss, the new giant Fatui mech fortress. You need to hit it with a bunch of pyro so that it can pull up this cryo shield slash kind of vacuum, it looks like, with the effects. And then when you destroy the cryo shield, it gets stunned. If you don't, you get one shot. Thanks. The main pain point is that it has a fuck ton of resistances in its non-stunned state, meaning that you deal next to no damage before you stun it, even though it actually doesn't have a lot of health. All of your time is wasted filling up the pyrometer, and that's how you feel it has a lot of HP. It doesn't actually have. It has like 150% resistances, and then when it gets stunned, it dies in one rotation. But honestly, Durin isn't here for just the pyro hits. No. You need Durin because the fucking hitbox of this thing is so fucky when it brings up the cryo shield that only white Durin's fixated attacks guarantee hits on it. I don't know, man. I hit the main body and I don't see the shield breaking. I hit its shield slash vacuum arm, and while the shield goes down, I'm viciously non-stop fighting the auto-targeting, which is targeting the main body. I had the Toma in the overworld while I was farming, and his burst had no idea where to hit, resulting in so many confusing runs on this boss. And the reason I say the hitbox for this enemy is so weird. So many times I will hit the arm only to not see a hit in the shield, and like, It's also giant, which makes dodging its attacks impossible unless you glue yourself on the boss. I did find something though, which is that its resistances do drop as you fill the pyro bar, so you can bring some pyro to fill up the bar just enough to deal good damage to the boss and then not apply any more significant pyro. I had Furina, Child, Kazuha, and Bennett, and I would infuse Kazuha's abilities with pyro through Bennett and also do some Bennett hits with his skill, and I filled up the meter to around like 75%, 50 to 75% and more, which allowed my Furina and Child to do basically full damage, especially with Viridescent, and I never got into the shield phase. Was it my best clear on this boss? No, but it is a strategy to consider based on the characters that you can use. And finishing off floor 12 and the Abyss is the Geo Mini Experimental Field Generator local legend from Fontaine. It allows anybody to plunge attack, so there's not really much to be said, as it has also appeared so many times in the Abyss, whether it was used as a Geo shield or a plunge shield. Survive or dodge the shockwaves and try to time your DPS for when the shield is broken or almost broken. And that's the Abyss. The multi-enemy chambers aren't really much of a problem, and let's give Venti mains their one time in how many years to have some fun. The pain point of the Abyss are the new boss for the first half and the two weasels for the second half, since they are both pretty restrictive. But overall, it's not that hard of an Abyss, and the DPS requirements aren't super crazy, I would say. It's amazing when you don't have a Night Soul shield and a Lunar shield, huh? Let's move on to Imaginarium Theater. The element combo for this time was Pyro, Cryo, and Anemo, which sounds like a pretty good combo for melts and just some Anemo to get some Viridescent for some more pure Cryo or pure Pyro DPSs, but it kind of depended, honestly. Let's see the starting characters first. Starting with Klee, which with the new attack speed buffs, not necessarily the Hex buff, which you can't use if she is a trial character. Yeah, she's fine with the attack speed buffs. I did Imaginarium Theater before the patch dropped, and she felt horrendous, as she always did, but then when I did a replay of Imaginarium Theater, she was so much better. And she is also running a regular build, so she's fine as a starting character. Bennett is Bennett, and now that trial characters have max level weapons, he gets the most out of the Sapwood Blade that they give him, so for the max base attack. Kitlali is running her standard build, but being in the starting lineup, I know many of you would like to keep her for later acts. Diona is Diona. I think they should switch her to something else other than Maiden fucking Beloved, just so that she can do more than healing. I mean, if you own Diona and have her at the required level, you must most likely have her at around C6 for the EM boost, which is nice for the melt for the melt Imaginarium Theater here, but the trial one is like, I mean, just give her something like, I don't know, like a Noblesse, like what the Maiden's Beloved is just trash. Next up is Chaska. She's running a standard build and she performs well. And last is Sucrose, once again in a standard build, and since Trial is always C0, using Sacrificial Fragments because C1, I think, right, C1 or C2 gives you a second skill charge, right, using Sacrificial Fragments for some particles and whatnot is fine. As for the bosses, we got a pretty decent element combo, so you know that the bosses are going to be a bit tougher than usual, starting with the Primogeovis Hub, so bring shields, and you are given 2 of them at the beginning, so it's fine. Next is the Aeon Blighted Drake, which needs a bow, and again you are given 2 at the beginning, but I also doubt you won't have a bow character from these elements. Half the freaking Anemos are bows and catalysts, so you should be good. Then is Swanee, who only needs some cryo, so no problems there. And last is the Fat Mountain King, who needs only pyro, so again, no problems. Really, it's just about luck, especially if you do lunar mode. We don't really have crazy cryo or pyro appliers for melt, nor do many pyro or cryo DPSs play melt, so you have to plan well with your character choices. Would also help if 4 or more of the playable cryo characters weren't physical DPSs or supports. Because, you build them to try them out and then you forget about them, but then IT comes around and you're forced to use one of them and you're like, oh no. As for the dogshit lunar mode, we have a switch up because this time the first challenge was very easy. It's just ruin enemies one by one, and I actually did this one with the trial Chaska. She did plenty well with some buffs, of course, but she did well to do the freaking lunar challenge, which is never the case before. But the second one, oh boy, it's two crazy buffed consecrated beasts. Yay! The scorpion that runs around and has many multiple hit attacks that non-stop stun you. And the tiger that also moves around like a bitch. Super annoying and nothing else. It's just a bullshit challenge. And that's the Abyss and Imaginarium Theater. Both were pretty tame, I would say, since again, there's no lunar shilling. But just you wait for the next Abyss with Columbina in the banners. Oh boy. Columbina and Zibai. Oh yay. Two lunar shits. Oh great. And Imaginarium Theater was okay. It just needed some careful planning and luck. And that's it. That's for the Abyss and Imaginarium Theater review. I'll see you next, most likely for the Hexensringel character review thingy for the buffs. But that will depend because it's the holidays. I hope you're having some nice holidays. And yeah, depending on how stuff goes, it will depend when I will be able to make that video. But also the version is about to end. It's very close to ending. We're around the second half right now entering. So, again, depending on how the holidays go, I'll be able to make that video close to the end of the patch, which is fine, I guess. It doesn't really matter. Anyways, I should stop yapping right here in the end and tell you that happy holidays. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.